This is Talk with Audrey. Welcome back. Charter schools are unique public schools that operate outside the local school district, and they offer flexibility and individualized learning options for families and students. Debbie Veney is the Senior Vice President of Communications and Marketing at the nonprofit National Alliance for Public Charter Schools, and we're going to talk today about how proposed regulations by the U.S. Department of Education could threaten charter schools and why parents should be concerned. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Audrey.
So let's talk first about charter schools, what people don't know and what they should know.
Okay. I think one of the most important things that people should know is that they are always public schools. That's a fact that's frequently misunderstood, but all charter schools are public schools, open and free to anyone who wants to attend. Because, as you said, they sit outside the school district. That means anyone from a surrounding geographical area could go to that school. So it's not limited to your specific zip code or where you might be zoned to attend. Also, no admissions requirements, no special tests or auditions or anything like that.
All right. Charter schools are becoming a very popular option in major cities like New York. And oftentimes it's because the public school system has in some way failed them. Would I be correct in assuming that?
Yeah, that is accurate. I want to be clear that there are a number of high-performing district public schools. So we are not out to tear down the public school infrastructure. But I also want to note that when you look at certain pockets of the population, particularly Black, Brown, and low-income communities, they just haven't been well served. And this would be true specifically in New York, but in a lot of other places around the country as well. And this is why charter schools are so important. Students are able to get several months more of instructional time a year by attending a charter school. And they are able to basically catch up at like double, triple time so that they are prepared to go to college or to launch a career.
Absolutely. I mean, your education's important. And I think that the skills children learn in the lower grades are really important because that's where they establish their study skills. So let's talk about some of the new proposed regulations that are threatening charter schools.
Sure. So this is regulations involving something called the Federal Charter Schools Program. This is an appropriation by Congress. So Congress set aside some funds, about $440 million for the startup, growth, and replication of charter schools. Now, that might sound like a really big number, but I want to put that into context. It's less than 1% of the Department of Education budget. So it is the only source of federal funds for the startup, growth, and replication of charter schools. And the department, who is the Department of Education, which is responsible for ensuring that this grant money gets out, they have set up a new set of hurdles and burdens that would actually make it very difficult to access those funds. So it's like a pot of money that you can see, but you can't actually get your hands on. And the way that they've worked to make it something that you can't quite get your hands on is by setting up a set of really interesting challenges. Like, for example, charter schools, which don't always have the benefit of support from neighboring district schools, well, they would have to show that they have support of a district school in order to apply for grant funding. So this would be the equivalent of, like, let's say you and I want to open up a little coffee shop, but we've got to get sign off from Starbucks in order to open up our coffee shop. Now, Starbucks is probably not going to do that.
Right, exactly. And that's an interesting hurdle. What are some of the other proposed regulations?
There's a lot of people don't know that charter schools actually have to secure their own school building. They have to pay for this, either by securing a lease for a facility or actually having to take out a mortgage and buy it. And usually these startup funds or replication funds are used to help the school be able to do this. Now, this is important because every other public school, and charter schools are always public schools, but every other public school is provided with the building by the district, by taxpayers. But these public schools have to actually get their own building, and you can't apply for this funding until you get a building first. But this is kind of crazy because the whole idea is you need the funding to secure the building. So it's like I'm telling you, you can't have a mortgage until you buy a house.
That's pretty interesting, Debbie. How do most charter schools get their funding to lease or buy a school building?
They're funded the same as other public schools. So there's something that we call a per pupil allocation, which means that the state and local governments have decided how much every child who attends a public school will be allotted. Now, this varies from state to state, so it could be as low as like maybe $8,000 or $9,000 in some places, and as high as like $17,000 or $18,000 in some other places. It kind of varies. So charter schools would be funded in the same way as any other public school in that general area. However, they only get 75 cents on the dollar. So let's say the per pupil allocation is $10,000. Charter schools would get 7,500 of that.
Again, very interesting. This is going to require some more research. So where can we go for more information?
I would encourage people to go to publiccharters.org or to charterswork.org. .com, charterswork.com.
Debbie Veney, Senior Vice President of Communications and Marketing at the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools, has been my guest. We've been talking about some new proposed regulations by the U.S. Department of Education that could threaten charter schools, and why, if you're a parent and you want your child to attend a charter school, you might want to be concerned. Check it out. Debbie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Audrey.